up, everyone? So today I'm going to be doing a 6-piston Brembo swap onto my WRX. My current setup is the 4 pistons. Both have 2-piece rotors. When I ordered my wheels, they are custom SSRs. They're 18 inches, stepped down to a 17-inch face. I was told that the 6 pistons would not clear, so I ended up getting the 4 pistons. After having them for a few months, probably like a year, I think I've been on the setup, I noticed that I had a good amount of clearance left. So I hit up my homie that has the 6 pistons on his STI, drove the car over, pulled the wheel off, test fitted. All right guys, so this is the setup. Pulled up to the homie's house. About to test fit the 6 piston STI setup on the 18, step down to a 17-inch SSR.
I think that shit fits, dog.
It looks pretty good. All right, so it does fit. 6 piston STI 340 mil rotor. It does fit. I have minimum 5 mil clearance everywhere besides the big bolt right there that holds the brake pads in. That's the only issue, and if I didn't run a 3 mil spacer, that would for sure not fit. I don't think that's 3 mil. We measured with change, and a dime fits through there, but not a quarter. If it really comes down to it, I could just shave off a piece of that bolt or notch it. But all in all, it does fit. So now I got to figure out if I switch to the STI or if I get a different, like a completely different company's big brake kit. They will change from different companies. The STI 6 piston, it doesn't mean it's the same size as other companies' 6 piston or even their 8 piston. The piston size could change. It could be a 6 piston that's larger than an 8 depending on the piston size. What's going on, guys? So you saw in the previous clip, I went to my homie's house and we test fitted my wheels on his 6 piston Brembos. I was able to make them work with that 3 mil spacer. So I went and I sourced a set of used 6 pistons, really good shape, low mileage. Now I just gotta figure out which 2-piece rotors I'm gonna go with, get some brake pads, and I can do the swap. Now, one thing that I was having a little bit of an issue with was the clearance. That 3 mil spacer that I run right now, I would want to remove it and see if I can make these fit without the 3 mil spacer. That way, with the gap I have here, which I can barely squeeze a finger in between it, what I want to do is run those without the spacer. And once I do that, if I can make it work, I'll remove some camber. I think I'm at negative 3.5 up front, so if I can go to like a negative 3 without the spacer and the 6 pistons, that's what my goal is. That's what I'm going to try to do. When I test fitted them in the previous video, the bolt right here was the only spot that was like really close to making contact. So what I plan on doing is shaving down a little bit of this bolt. It's a really thick, strong bolt. I don't think it's gonna make a huge difference. It already has like a piece of it cut off too. So if I shave a few millimeters off of the side right here or the top, I think I'll be good. Besides that, if anything was to happen to that bolt, it's still being held down by 2 pins on each side. So it's not like the brake pads are gonna go flying off. So to do the swap, if you already have your 4 piston Brembos up front, your brake lines are gonna swap right over. So brake lines work on both of these. Also your bolts, so your mounting bolts on the calipers are gonna be the same from the 4 pot to the 6 pot. Once I get everything in, I'll be dropping everything off with bulletproof coating in San Bernardino. They're the best in the business. They powder coated my current big brake setup. The Brembos, they also did these gyro disc rotor top hats. They do an amazing job. So as soon as I get everything set up, I check for a fitment. I can get these on the car, pull off the wheel, pull off the caliper. I'll be able to bolt these on with the current rotors. I'm only worried about the clearance with the caliper itself. I know that the rotor is gonna fit. So once I figure all of that out, I can go take it to Bulletproof, then I can begin the swap. Now, to be honest, I was looking at other big brake kits like Stop Tech and Endless. There's a few other companies that had some decent ones, but the problem, even the Brembo GT, which they look very, very similar to these, but the rotor is 355 mil. So if I was barely able to fit the 340 mil in these 6-piston, definitely didn't want to risk getting something like a 355 millimeter rotor and having that not fit. I don't know anyone that has those setups. Like, I was able to go test fit these, so this is basically as large as I'm able to go on the big brake kit. So this is my best option. I feel like my only option. So these with 2-piece rotors and some good pads are going to be a sick upgrade. And with the rear, I'm not gonna bother switching over to the 18 plus setup there. If it was a 4-piston in the back, then I would definitely do it, but they're both 2-piston, so it's not really gonna make a big difference. And I believe the rotor in the back from the 18 plus kit is like 8 millimeter bigger than what I have now. So I'm gonna leave that alone. If I was ever gonna swap my rear setup, it would definitely be for a 4-piston rear. All right, guys, so now that I have the 6-pot bolted up, we're gonna test fit the wheel without the spacer. As I mentioned before, I run a 3 mil, so if it comes down to it, I can always run it, and I know it'll work with the 3 mil spacer. But I want to see if I can make it work without it, so let's find out. Put a couple lug nuts on to hold it in. But right now I can already see that it is touching. I think it's touching the bolt. If not, it's like barely off. Let's see. I need enough pressure so that I know the rotor push back all the way. It's just enough clearance where I don't have to worry about shaving any of it down. The bleeder valve is cool. It's just that bolt is the only thing that right now I could maybe squeeze a piece of paper through it. So before I removed this, I grabbed the wheel and I spun it a few times, and you can clearly see on the bolt where right there where it left the mark, that's where the lip of the wheel was rubbing on it, making contact. So I am gonna have to shave down the bolt a couple mil. As I mentioned before, if I run like the 3 mil spacer, I don't have to, but I want the option to not have to run the 3 mil spacer. That way more of the rotor is exposed, but I am thankful that I don't have to shave down like the actual caliper itself. Everything else cleared. So since my wheel is making contact on the bolt, you can see the little mark that it left on the bolt right there. It's not much, but it's enough to where obviously it's gonna be touching. If if I run them without the spacer. So I'm going to be using my Dremel to shave this down a good amount and sand it down so it doesn't look that bad. Also, I'm going to be cleaning up this caliper. The other one looks okay. I might clean it up a little, but this one, the person that had these before, they installed the bolt the wrong way and they took a big chunk out of the caliper. So once it gets powder coated, I don't want that to be noticeable. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean all that up. So this is Gyro Disc 18 to 21 STI 6-piston 2-piece rotor. This is not my first set of Gyro Disc rotors. I have their rear rotors on my rear brake kit. They're extremely high quality. I love the product, and this is their new style. They have the curved vanes, so the slots are curved, and the top hat is black compared to the old style, which these slots right here were just straight lines. They weren't curved, and the rotor hat itself used to be like a blue purple color. Now for the 18 to 21 STI, there's a couple other options for 2-piece rotors on the market. You have Paragon brakes, and I believe it's like PFC. Those are the other two options, and they're lighter. So those options are around 16.5 pounds each. These Gyro discs are around 19.5, a little bit over, I think like 19.7 they said. So 3 pounds heavier than the other options on the market. There is another option, which is the DBA, which is actually a couple pounds heavier than this one. So this is like in the middle. I was okay with the weight difference. It's basically 3 pounds heavier than the Paragon brakes one, because if you look at the rotor, the casting itself, this is how they got it 3 pounds lighter per se, like Paragon. So the spacing between here, the venting, the gap, what they did is they just make this bigger, which loses material, and that's why you see the 3 pound difference. So the cheek thickness, which is this and this, you're gonna have less meat on it, and the ventilation gap is gonna be larger. So that's where the weight difference is. For the other ones, they will cool, I guess, a little bit better than these, but they're not gonna last as long because you have less material. And also, if you are tracking your car or doing heavy braking, you want something that's more durable, that could take like more of an abuse, then, you know, this is a really good option. So I'll be taking these apart. I'm sending the top hat to get powder coated to match the rears. So all you do is take off these Allen head screws, and every other one, not each one, but every other one is going to have this bobbin. It's that easy. You just zap these off, pull the ring off, you're good to go. When you go to reinstall these, your hardware, each one is torqued down to 60 inch-pounds. All right, so I just got the Brembos back from powder coating. Huge shout out to Bulletproof Coating. It killed it, like they always do. Fully rebuilt. New seals, new O-rings, new bleeder valves. But I found these at Advanced Auto, and they fit perfect with the bolt. So if you're in the same spot, you do not want to buy new brake lines and you just need the crush washers, these are the ones that fit. That's the part number. And this is the finished product. They look insanely good. This is candy gold, and the red was the red to match the paint on the car. Killer setup. It's gonna look crazy good just right behind the SSRs. I already got the car on jack stand, so now I just gotta pull the wheels off and get to work.